Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Luke chapter 3, verse 16. Answered, saying unto them all, I indeed baptize you with water, but one mightier than I cometh. He shall baptize you with the Holy Ghost and with fire.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, all through the blood.
In shady green pastures, so rich and so sweet, Yah leads. He leads his dear children all along. Oh yes, he does. Now sometimes on the mountaintop, in the darkness of night, Yah leads, He leads, He leads His dear children all along. In shady green pastures, so rich and so sweet, Yah leads. He leads his dear children all along. Oh yes, he does. Now sometimes on the mountaintop, in the darkness of night, Yah leads, He leads, He leads His dear children all along. Some through the water, some through the water, some through the water, some through the water, some through the flood, some through the flood, some through the flood, some through the fire, some through the fire, some through the fire, some through the fire, all through the blood, all through the blood, all through the blood, all through great sorrow, some through great sorrow, through great sorrow, Yah gives us song, Yah gives us song, Yah gives us song, Yah gives us song. In the night season, in the night season, in the night season, in the night season, and all of the day long. Some through the water, some through the water, some through the water, some through the water, some through the flood, some through the flood, some through the flood, some through the fire, some through the fire, some through the fire, some through the fire, all through the blood, all through the blood, all through the blood, through great sorrow, some through great sorrow, through great sorrow, Yah gives us song, Yah gives us song, Yah gives us song, Yah gives us song. In the night season, 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 Yah will make a way in the night season, out of nowhere. In the night season, 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 and all of the day long.
The Oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby ye are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
That is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. When we listen to this morning's song, All Through the Blood, and how Yahweh will lead you, sometimes we have to understand and, get out of our own way. When we deal with him, it says that, behold, I have sent an angel to lead you in the way. Do not provoke him, obey his voice. At what point do we remember the angel talking to any other people? Who he talked to? So when we deal with that situation, this is how we can feel offended. And at some point, we realized that the children of Israel were offended in Moshe. They had an issue with him, even though they asked specifically. And we are enjoined unto that very thing, that this is why Yahweh has prophets, priests, and teachers. Because Israel said, don't talk to us no more. Talk to him and let him come talk to us. We are forever held by that because that's what we demand. We didn't ask for it. We demanded it. And understand something. We have such power in Yahweh that we don't really understand what that means. We asked for a king. Yahweh said it wasn't good for us. But because we have so much power with Yahweh, he turned around and gave us a king. Now, he was straightforward with us. He told us what kind of king we were going to get. He told us what the king was going to do. He told us, look, I haven't prepared a king for you. So if you going to get something, it ain't going to be nothing that I prepared. It's going to be something that you want out of your own flesh. And I'm telling you what it's going to do. If I hadn't worked with it, I'm telling you what it's going to do once it gets his hand on power. I'm telling you it ain't going to act right. You still want it? Yes. Give it us now. So it was. So all of that trouble was something, it was self-inflicted trouble. It was trouble that we asked for. But how offended would we have felt if Yahweh just said no? How offended would we felt if he just said, no, I'm not giving you that? So you do realize in that situation, either way, Yahweh has a problem. Okay? He has a problem if he gives us what we ask for, and he has a problem if he doesn't. So then at some point, he's got to make this decision. You know what? I'm going to err on the side of caution. I'm going to go ahead and give it to you so I can prove to you what it was going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Let's begin today's sermon in John chapter 1. John chapter 1, and we're going to read starting with verse 19. John chapter 1, verse 19.
Verse 19. And this is the record of Yohanan, when the Yehudis sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, who are you? And he confessed and denied not, but confessed, I am not the anointed one.
Right. He says, I'm the anointed one. Go ahead.
And they asked him, what then? Elias? And he says, I am not.
Right. Now, he says this, but later on, Yeshua's going to say something different. That lets you know, even when a man is given a charge, you're still on a need-to-know basis. The head man is on a need-to-know basis. So what that make you? You ain't running nothing. You on a need-to-know basis. You ain't even on a need-to-know basis. Because if the one leading is on a need-to-know basis, what about the ones who he leading? But see, we so damn nosy. We want to know everything. We want to know everything about everything that's about everything. Ain't none of your business. The dude leading don't even know that. Y'all ain't gonna let him know 5 minutes before. Turn right here. Well, I'm turning right here. You'll figure out when you get down the street. But it takes faith to operate like that. See, needing to know everything up front is a faithless action. That's how we operate when we have no faith. And we've gotten accustomed to operating that way. We want to know every turn that's on Google before we crank up the car. Go ahead.
You know, my brother, the sad thing about that nosiness is you can be so nosy that you catch a whiff of a little something and think you got it all and run and cause something to go haywire.
You can, as my elder used to say, you can learn just enough to get yourself killed. You heard 15% of something and then guess the other 85 because of the 15 that you heard, but that's not, the 85 you guessed was wrong. Now what you gonna do with that? Go ahead.
Are you that prophet? And he answered. Then said they unto him, who are you? That we may give an answer to them that sent us. What saith you of yourself? He said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness. Make straight the way of the Adonai, as said the prophet Esaias.
Right. He didn't have no he was. He just knew what his job was. They asked him, was he Elias? He said no. Man, I'm just here to do the job that Yahweh sent me to do. But everybody got questions about his job. What are you doing? Who gave you authority to do this? Why are you doing this? When I find out, I probably still won't tell you. But when I find out, that means I found out. He didn't give me them kind of that kind of information. This is why certain individuals he can't use. Because when they supposed to be working, they keep asking questions. Why this? Why that? Why this? Why we going down this street? Why we doing this? This is why you notice, this is why I tell people when they have more than one kid, you notice when you have several kids, you know that but one, you can't tell them you're going to Disney World until the day. Because if you tell them you going to Disney World in January, they're going to worry the absolute hell out of you till June. You going to have the absolute biggest problem. So you can tell some kid, look now, don't tell your little sister. She can't find out until the car packed. Where we going? You'll find out in a minute. We got to be on the road and she see the eels. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's where we going. Wait a minute, everybody knew this? Everybody except you. Because you was going to bother the absolute hell out of us. We there yet? Are we there yet? When we going? You remember that time you had on that blue shirt? You said we were going to go to where the big rat was. You remember that? Are we going today? What about today? What about today? Is today the day? Daddy, what you doing tomorrow? Good God. You know what? Say something one more again, we ain't going. Right. Need to know basis. What you think Yahweh be doing with us? Need to know basis. You gonna worry him to death? Just shut up and do what I tell you to do. Go ahead.
Verse 24. And they were of the Pharisees, and they asked him and said unto him, Why baptize you then, if you be not that anointed one, nor Elias, neither that prophet?
Right. They got questions about the job that Yahweh gives somebody. What y'all supposed to be doing? Go do that. Go ahead.
Johanan answered them, saying, I baptize with water, but there standeth one among you whom you know not. He it is, who coming after me is preferred before me, whose shoes latchet I am not worthy to unloose. These things were done in Beth Arbara, beyond Jordan, where Johanan was baptizing. The next day Johanan sees Yahshua coming on to him, and says, Behold the Lamb of Elohim, which takes away the sin of the world. This is he of whom I said, After me comes a man which is preferred before me, for he was before me, and I knew him not. But that he should be made manifest to Israel, therefore am I come baptizing with water.
Right. Purpose of him starting this baptism was so Yahshua could get baptized. All the other people were baptized. The only person he posed that he needed to baptize is Yahshua. That's the job that he was raised up for. All these other people got baptism. Yeah. It ain't but one that he need to do. Go ahead.
And Johanan saying, I saw the Spirit descending from heaven like a dove, and it abode upon him. And I knew him not, but he that sent me to baptize with water, the same said unto me, Upon whom you shall see the Spirit descending and remaining on him, the same is he which baptized with the Holy Spirit.
Right. I'm going to tell you a description of what his baptism going to be like. Now go baptize people. But when you baptize this one, it's going to be different. Need to know basis. He know when he baptized one and that baptism go different, that's him. That's the one. If he'd have told him, his name is going to be Yahshua. Man, there's 13 Yahshuas over there. Are you the Yahshua that I shall be seeking for? Nope, I ain't him. Go ahead.
And I saw him bear record, this is the son of Elohim. Again the next day after Johanan stood, and two of his disciples, and looking upon Yahshua as he walked, he says, Behold the Lamb of Elohim. And the two disciples heard him speak, and they followed Yahshua.
Now understand, Johanan has respect because he has good pedigree. They understand that he's coming from the house of priests. Now, even though they have an issue with him, they have a certain level of respect because of the tribe that he come from. Go ahead.
At verse 37, it says, and 2 of his disciples heard him speak, and they followed Yahshua. So now do you become offended in Yahshua? Man,
There you go.
I just lost 2 of my people.
Yeah, 2 of my folk I just lost.
But what did he say? There's one that's going to come greater. I baptize with water. This dude baptized with the Holy Spirit. So when 2 of his disciples left, you didn't find him. You know what? I'm going to drop dime on Yahshua. You don't see that. Why? Same spirit. See, the same spirit that told him what was going to happen at the baptism is the same spirit that's directing him. So you can tell when folk dealing with the same spirit, because then they turn around and they do the same thing. The folk that's dealing with a different spirit, they start talking something else. Oh, well then they're not dealing with the same spirit. See, if there's a different spirit right here, there's an argument. There's no argument where there's the same spirit. Go ahead.
It was interesting. They didn't tell the name of the 2 either. We'd be sitting, man, they traitors.
Right.
Who these old disciples of Yohanan over here?
Go ahead.
Then Yahshua turned and saw them following, and says unto them, what seek you? They said unto him, Rabbi, which is to say, being interpreted, Master, we dwell with you. He says unto them, come
You're
and
going to drop
see.
their names in a second, though. Go ahead.
They came and saw where he dwelt and abode with them that day, for it was about the 10th hour. One of the 2 which heard Yohanan speak and followed him was Andrew, Simeon Peter's brother. He first finds his own brother Simeon and says unto him, we have found the Messiah, which is being interpreted, the Anointed One. And he brought him to Yahshua, and when Yahshua beheld him, he said, you are Simeon the son of Jonah. You shall be called Cephas, which is by interpretation a stone. The day following, Yahshua would go forth into Galilee and finds Philip and says unto him, follow me.
You know, I've been to, several places, and people say, the elder priest or the priest of the organization gave me a name. And, people ask me, are you going to give me a name? No, you're going to choose your own name. See, I always had an issue with that. Yahshua met a man and right off the rip told that man, your name going to be such and such. But why did he tell him that? Because he knew what his job was going to be in the future church. I just met you. I don't know that. I don't know what the hell you going to be. I'm not naming you. Suppose I give you a name. Hey, you turn around, there's a fight in the parking lot, and I name you Hellfire and Damnation. I don't know. He know things I don't know. I'm not naming nobody. Go ahead.
Now,
But you got folk that done came up in here who done gave people names and they wasn't even sitting in this seat. Who the hell are you to name somebody? I find out later, who gave you that name? Right. This one Jake want to be somebody. Go ahead.
Now Philip was of Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Cephas. Philip finds Nathanael and says unto him, we have found him, of whom Moshe in the law and the prophets did write, Yahshua of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathanael said unto him, can there any good thing come out of Nazareth?
Okay, so we already have Yohanan, who has respect amongst the people, but now there's already an offense being made for Yahshua, because first of all, he don't come from the right place. Can there any good thing come out of Nazareth? Does any good thing come out of Stone Mountain? See, if you around Stone Mountain, that's one thing. See, you know. But what about the people that live in Marietta and Roswell?
Can there any good thing come out of Stone Mountain? We're going to go down there and worship? What? Do they have security?
Go ahead, bro.
Philip says unto him, come and see. Yahshua saw Nathanael coming to him and says of him, behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile.
Mm-hmm.
Nathanael says unto him, whence know you me? Yahshua answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called you, when you was under the fig tree, I saw you.
Okay, so before Philip called you, when you was under the fig tree, I saw you. Okay, go ahead.
Nathanael answered and says unto him, Rabbi, you are the son of Elohim. You are the king of Israel.
Listen to what Yeshua say.
Yahshua said unto him, because I said unto you, I saw you under the fig tree. Believe you?
Uh-huh.
You shall see greater things than these.
Now, let me go ahead and divide this line for you. When belief is in somebody's heart, they don't need everything and everything to believe. They don't need every explanation. They don't need to know everything to believe. Yeshua said, just because I told you I saw you under the tree, you believe because of that? Why? Because belief was already in him. See, when belief ain't in people, no, I need to know this, I need to know this, I need to know this, this, and this. I need to know how this was put together. I need to know what you're thinking, what you're going to do with this. I need to know should this sit over here, should this sit over there. Right. Belief was already in him. He heard Yeshua speak, done deal. Where we going? Go ahead.
And he says unto him, verily, verily, and the angels of Elohim ascending and descending upon the Son of Man.
All right, keep going.
And the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Yeshua was there. And both Yeshua was called and his disciples to the marriage. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Yeshua says unto him, they have no wine. Yeshua says unto her, woman, what have I to do with you? Mine hour is not yet come.
Man, come on, man. A mama done found out, look, my baby got some gifts. Okay? Let me tell you something. When a mama know her baby got gifts, she go right there and turn the karaoke machine on. She turn it on. Y'all want to get this thing started? Is this thing on? Baby, come over here and show him. Mama, stop. Go on. What have I to do with you? What? Go on, mama. Y'all need to see my baby. She said, look, that they need something over here. Do with that thing you do. He said, my hour is not, this ain't time for me. No. Show them what you can do. See, back in the old days, if a kid can dance, let me tell you something. Everybody in the family knew you knew how to dance. You know why? Because your mama made you dance in front of everybody in the family. She turned that music on. Go, Junebug! Junebug! Show him, do that thing you did for mama. Look at Junebug. You didn't have no choice in the matter. You might have danced 5 times in one day. Look, Uncle Ralph wasn't here. Come on in here, do it again. He gonna do it again, Ralph. Nah, I was tired, Mom. No, you're not. You're young. Ain't no such thing as tired. You don't know what tired is. Come on, crank that up. Mama said her baby got some gifts. And she pushing it out there. Go ahead.
Well, we gotta be opposite. We gotta be honest on the opposite end, though. A lot of people nowadays don't want to be opposite with their kids and say, hey, that's not your gift, that's not your talent.
You ain't lying. I'm telling the kid, those beats sound nice. You made those beats? And it just sound like a bunch of things in the kitchen bumping up against each other. Ping, bang, bang, boom, pow. What is this? Man, don't get that to nobody. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to that. That's not no beat. That's a beating. That's not the same thing. Don't do that. Go ahead.
Verse 5. His mother says unto the servants, whatsoever he says unto you, do it.
Uh-huh.
And they were set there 6 water pots of stone, after the manner of the purifying of the Yehudis, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Yahshua says unto them, fill the water pots with water, and they filled them up to the brim. And he says unto them, draw out now, and bear unto the governor of the feast. And they bear it.
Now, you understand that this stuff takes faith in the people who are around. Because you understand, they are given instruction. But what happened if there's some unbelief? You know, unbelief make you taste the wine first before you pour it out to the governor. You pouring that out to the governor now. What happened if you pour out to the governor and it ain't right? Y'all know us.
Pour out to the governor. Yeah, pour out a little something for the homeless who ain't here, and then I'm going to taste it. Go ahead.
When the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and knew not whence it was, but the servants which drew the water knew, the governor of the feast called the bridegroom, and says unto him, Every man at the beginning does set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worse, but you have kept the good wine until now. This beginning of miracles did Yahshua in Canaan of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him.
His disciples believed on him. This is the beginning. So this is around his place. All right. So this is where the beginning of those miracles are beginning. Let's go to Matthew chapter 13. His disciples believed on him. Now, once again, when belief is in you, nobody has to carve out a mountain to convince you. Matthew 13, and we're going to read verses 53 through 58.
And it came to pass, that when Yahshua had finished these parables, he departed thence. And when he was come into his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, insomuch that they were astonished, and said, Whence has this man this wisdom and these mighty works?
All right, so what makes them ask this question? Go ahead.
Is not this the carpenter's son?
Uh-huh.
Is not his mother called Miriam?
Uh-huh.
And his brethren Jacob and Joseph and Simeon and Yehudis?
Wait a minute, we know this cat. So the fact that they know him, they are automatically offended. Now, we'll show more respect for a person that we don't know. But somebody we already know, we have some offense in us. See, why? Because we know too much about them. See, my elder said, familiarity breeds contempt.
Yep.
See, we know so much about them, but then we respect this person over here. That person's a serial killer. Go ahead.
And his sisters, are not they all with us? Whence then has this man all these things? And they were offended in him.
They were offended. When did he get to be all this? See, sometimes when folk meet you on a level, they want you to stay on that level. Here's the problem. Yahshua, that don't mean nothing to Yahshua. When Yahshua invites you into this walk, he said, hey, come up hither. So now all the people who knew you at the level where you were, they now have a problem with you. Every time Yahweh gets ready to bring you up a level, you're going to have problems with the people who knew you in the previous level. I don't care what level it is. We all friends till somebody get a promotion. Now we got a problem with that individual.
He done changed.
Go ahead.
But Yahshua said unto them, A prophet is not without honor, save in his own country and in his own house.
In his own country, in his own house, among his own people, that's where he's going to have the most problem. Read the last line.
And he did not many mighty works there because of their unbelief.
Because of their unbelief, it tied his hands. He said, I ain't doing no work there. They're offended in me. See, they have a problem with me. I can't do no work there. Let's go to Matthew chapter 11. And see, part of our offense is we have decided in our minds what type of individuals ought to be able to do certain things. See, this individual can do it, but not that one. The problem is, when the spirit sits upon a man or a woman, they don't glow like Moshe did. So you're not going to be able to tell if the spirit is dealing with an individual in a particular situation unless you operating by the spirit as well. If you're looking with fleshly eyes, you ain't going to see what the spirit put forth. Matthew chapter 11, And we're going to read verses 1 through 19.
And it came to pass when Yahshua had made an end of commanding his 12 disciples, he departed thence to teach and to preach in their cities. Now when Yohanan had heard in the prisons, and when Yohanan had heard in the prisons the works of the Mashiach, he sent 2 of his disciples.
Wait a minute, man. He doing time? A servant of God is in the man of God doing time. But look, it said he sent 2 of his disciples. He in jail and still got disciples. How many of us? I wish you would go tell your mama, yeah, I was going to see my pastor. No, he down there at Rice Street. I'm sorry, baby, say what? Your pastor on Rice Street? In the overcrowded jail? Absolutely not. You come out of there this moment. You're not allowed to worship there. Right. Here we go with our respective persons. Go ahead.
And said unto him, Are you he that should come, or do we look for another? Yahshua answered and said unto them, Go and show Yohanan again those things which you do hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. The lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. And blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me.
Right. Blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me. But then he doesn't go about to try not to offend them. Okay. Go ahead.
You know, it's also interesting. They asked a question. He said, now go back and tell them these things. In other words, my work's going to prove for itself. I ain't got to tell you yes or no. When you talk to him, the work's going to show forth who I am.
Right. You know what he also didn't do? He ain't going to get him out. Wait. I'm just... Okay. Go ahead.
And as they departed, Yahshua began to say unto
Come on, y'all, come on. Like you want to say, if you got the spirit, pay my bond. Put something on my book. Come on, don't. Go ahead, bro, read.
And as they departed, Yahshua began to say unto the multitudes concerning Yohanan, What went you out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken with the wind?
What went you out to see? Go ahead.
But what went you out for to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? Behold, they that wear soft clothing are in king's houses.
Right. You went to go see a certain type of man. See, because you in your own mind think that you get to decide who Yahweh chooses. You think that you get to decide what he gonna look like, what he gonna talk like, what he gonna walk like. What you went to see? Somebody clothed in soft raiment? Go ahead.
But what went you out for to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and more than a prophet. For this is he, of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before your face, which shall prepare your way before you.
Now, that part Yohanan knew, right? Okay, he said that. We know that. Go ahead.
Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there has not risen a greater than Yohanan the Baptist.
Now, he didn't know that. Need to know basis with Yahweh. Need to know base. You know how quick somebody would accuse you of glorifying yourself if you said if he was even told this part. Say, brother, who are you? I'm the greatest born among women. But I'm sorry, wasn't he? Okay, Yeshua said he was. But what happened if he says it? Then he gets an accusation. If he actually says who he is and what he does. This is why it says, let another man speak greater of you. Don't speak that of yourself. He didn't say this about himself. Yeshua said, this is the greatest born among women. But if a brother came in that lobby and said, boy, I'm going to have to stop people from hurting him. Y'all calm down. Go ahead.
Notwithstanding, he that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of Johanan the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until Johanan. And if you will receive it, this is Elias, which was for to come.
Now, when they asked him, was he Elias? He said no. Need to know basis. See, sometimes you bark up a tree that you should probably leave alone. Now, what happened to all these people who have troubled him? They're going to have to deal with that. He didn't even know who he was. He couldn't tell you who he was because it wasn't told to him. But we want to get job description and all these things from the individual who doing the work. They wasn't even given it. How you going to know he don't know? But Yeshua knew. Yeshua said, oh, yeah, that was Elias. Oh, yeah, I was in the presence of Elias. Somebody must have knew something because they asked him, are you Elias? Somebody knew something. How you just happen to guess what he is and then ask to see if he gonna confirm it? Somebody knew something. Somebody knew the attributes of what Elias was gonna do. Somebody looked at him and said, oh, he might be somebody. But it didn't come out of him, man. Go ahead.
But yeah, we had a man come in this very sanctuary and tell us that he was who he was, right?
No, what he told us he was. That was the most confused individual. He was Egyptian and an Israelite. That dude had on a Pharaoh outfit with the candy cane hook, and he was an Israelite. I said, what? How you Joseph and Pharaoh? That brother locked himself up and freed himself. This right here is this boy style. Go ahead, bro.
He that has ears to hear, let him hear. But whereunto shall I liken this generation? It is like unto children sitting in the markets, and calling unto their fellows, and saying, we have piped unto you, and you have not danced. We have mourned unto you, and you have not lamented. For Johanan came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has a devil.
The best born among women, they said he got a devil. But see, this is what happened when feelings come in between when somebody got a job to do. Feelings have come in, he got a devil. It says, wait a minute, he came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has a devil. Reading the last line.
The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, behold, a man gluttonous and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified of her children.
Wisdom is justified of her children. They said, oh, a gluttonous man and a winebibber. Look, he drank wine. Look, if they had a problem with Elias as straight up and down as he was, he said, oh, they're going to have some serious problem with me. So then, if Yahweh already knew that, why he let him drink wine? If Yahweh already knew that, why he let him hang around sinners? Understand, when he hanging around sinners, he trying to cleanse them. We have to ask ourselves, when we in the presence of the defiled and the debaucherous, what reason are you there? 1 Samuel chapter 16.
I'm gonna save you as soon as I finish my drink.
Right.
1 Samuel chapter 16 and verse 1. And Yahweh said unto Samuel, how long will you mourn for Saul, seeing I've rejected him from reigning over Israel?
So Samuel has anointed this man, so Samuel has some connection to this man, even though he knows this man ain't righteous. Samuel know that the man will try to kill him. So maybe Samuel is thinking of self-preservation at this point. Maybe he's not really thinking about Israel. Maybe he's thinking about himself. See, this is what happens sometimes, that even people who have the Spirit will abandon the spirit in self-preservation. At this point, maybe there's self-preservation because he knows this man is wicked. Ain't nobody got to tell him. Yahweh already told him, this man ain't going to listen. So why you keep whining to me about him? When you know he not going to listen. Then you dealing with something else then. So what you dealing with? To the point where Yahweh said, look, man, don't talk to me no more about this, man. Go ahead.
Fill your horn with oil and go. I will send you to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hear it, he will kill me.
Now, why you whining for a man that you know gonna kill you? Self-preservation. See? Self-preservation. I know if I stay here, I don't anoint nobody, I get to live. But if this man know that I'm about to do something that's going to override something that he has done, I'm going to have me some issues. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said, take an heifer with you, and say, I'm come to sacrifice to Yahweh. And call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what you shall do. And you shall anoint unto me him whom I name unto you.
Right. So I'm going to show you how to get past Saul. But what if he don't even say that to Yahweh? Go ahead.
And Samuel did that which Yahweh spake, and came to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town trembled as at his coming, and said, come you peaceably. And
What people don't understand is folks wasn't always happy to see no prophet. Because the prophet has come to prophesy, Yahweh has told me the destruction is on the way because y'all did this, this, and this. Let it happen today. People are like, oh, the prophet is here. They all happy. Why? Because the prophets of the day don't do nothing but say nice stuff. That's why people are happy to see him. So much that people pay $1,000 so they can get a personalized prophecy. Not then. Go ahead.
And he said, peaceably, I am come to sacrifice unto Yahweh. Sanctify yourselves, and come with me to the sacrifice. And he sanctified Jesse and his sons, and called them to the sacrifice. And it came to pass, when they were come, that he looked on Eliab, and said, surely Yahweh's anointed is before him.
Automatically, he see this man. This dude look like a warrior. All right? He looked like this is the one. Go ahead.
But Yahweh said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For Yahweh sees not as man sees. For man looks on the outward appearance, but Yahweh looks on the heart.
All right. So this is the beginning of us being offended. Because what we trying to do is figure out how Yahweh chose this person or that person, but what eyes you looking with? You looking with your natural eyes. See, if you don't have spirit eyes and you can't see the heart, then you don't know what you're looking at. Now, this is Yahweh giving direction to a prophet. This ain't no regular man he talking to. So understand the level of instruction that's happening right here. Don't look on him because of what he look like. Who I choose, you might not choose at all. Go ahead.
You know, it's also can set a standard once you already got the first one. Because remember, Saul was taller than everybody else.
Right.
So now you're looking for that same type of moment.
Right. So you thinking, Yahweh just finna get sold too. Go ahead.
Verse 8. Then Jesse called Amminadab and made him pass before Samuel. And he said, neither has Yahweh chosen this.
Now, offense is starting to build up for every brother that's coming who ain't chosen for this position now. Don't get it twisted. Go ahead.
Then Jesse made Shemaiah to pass by, and he said, neither has Yahweh chosen this. Again Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. And Samuel said unto Jesse, Yahweh has not chosen these.
Now, understand something. It's one thing if Yahweh just say, give me this boy. Then no son has to stand up and be refused. Okay? You gotta understand, it hurts more to be called and made to stand before and say, That's not he.
He rather like, well, you could have just left me in the parking lot then. You know I wasn't he before I came in here.
So there's already some offense building. Go ahead.
Everybody get the spotlight and get turned down.
Right.
And Samuel said unto Jesse, Are here all your children? And he said, There remains yet the youngest. And behold, he keeps the sheep.
They don't even want to call him in. Ain't nobody choosing him. Did the youngest dude, he keep the sheep. He's a little shepherd boy. I didn't even call him in here, because I call these boys, look at the muscles on these cats. You see that? Look at it. Boy, these boys, and they fine looking men. You see that? Go. But you got one more, right? Go ahead.
And Samuel said unto Jesse, Send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he comes hither. And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look to. And Yahweh said, Arise, anoint him, for this is he.
So, you got these warrior-looking cats, and here come Lil Pretty. He ain't no strong warrior-looking dude like the rest of his brothers. He's already younger, so he already smaller by default. And he just pretty, just ruddy, just pretty complexion, just reddish brown, just beautiful, just pretty. This him. That's him right there. Anoint him. All the animosity is already brewing. You mean to tell me I'm a warrior and you pick this thing? Go ahead.
Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brethren.
Now, Yahweh has a purpose now. He anoints him in the midst of his brethren. But here's the problem with being anointed in the midst of your brethren. Your persecution start that day. See, if you get anointed in private, you get a minute before your persecution hits. Go ahead.
And the Spirit of Yahweh came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah.
All right. So he anointed him in front of his brothers. Let's go to chapter 17, and I want to start at verse 20.
And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper.
Because he was told now, this was not on his own. Go ahead.
And took and went as Jesse had commanded
And
him.
Jesse has commanded him. That's his daddy. His daddy has commanded him to go and do this thing. Go ahead.
And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage and ran into the army and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words, and David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were sore afraid. And the men of Israel said, Have you seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that kills this Philistine, and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living El?
Now, wait a minute. Now, this is short Shapriti, who is coming among warriors, and he's just a little boy. All right? Go ahead.
And the people answered him after this manner, saying, So shall it be done to the man that kills him.
All right?
And Eliab his eldest brother heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David.
All right. Now, this is the first one who was called, who was rejected. Now, who's the first that have indignation? Go ahead.
And he said, Why came you down hither? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness?
You see how he downplayed what he do?
Where you left those little few sheep? I got a little few. I mean, you ain't even no real shepherd. I mean, you ain't got nothing but a few of them. And you got a little. I mean, what you got? A goat? A few sheep? We're going to war out here, little boy. Go back to your daddy. Go ahead.
I know your pride. And
I know your pride. Where the pride come from? See, now, so is the accusation more about Dawid or more about his hurt of not being chosen? Was Dawid prideful or was Eliab hurt inside? What they say, hurt people hurt people. Go ahead.
And the naughtiness of your heart, for you are come down that you might see the battle. And Dawid say, what have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him toward another.
Stop talking to it, brother. See, one thing you got to realize when you got to stop talking to your brother. See, sometimes we don't do that. We want to keep talking to our brother. You got to learn that you stop talking. You got to realize when it's time to stop talking to your brother. It's still your brother. But you got to learn when it's time to stop talking. There ain't no more future in having this conversation. He's already decided how he gonna deal with you. Go ahead.
And he turned from him toward another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner. And when the words were heard which Dawid spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And Dawid said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to Dawid, you're not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth.
All right, so they're giving him the reasons why he should not succeed. Go ahead.
And he a man of war from his youth.
You are a youth. He is a man of war from his youth. This is all he knows. You're going to die, little boy. They're going to carry your pretty body back to your daddy. Go ahead.
And Dawid said unto Saul, your servant kept his father's sheep.
You know the few sheep in the wilderness? Go ahead.
And there came a lion and a bear and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him.
Now, this is what he did before he had the spirit. Okay, so what Yahweh do, he take your natural abilities and he put some anointing on that thing. So I already know how to do this. Yeah, but what this? Let me sprinkle a little something on there. Yeah, it's like prickle. Boy, it's in there. It's like prickle. It's in there. Go ahead.
Your servant slew both the lion and the bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he has defied the armies of the living El.
Right. See, this is the spirit leading him now. Now, to everybody else, he seemed cocky as hell. Does this not look like self-magnification? You did to a lion and a bear, and you gonna do this to the Philistine? Little boy, little bitty, little pretty little boy. If they didn't tell you you was a boy, I'd have think you was a girl. You so pretty. Get so pretty. Go ahead.
Dawid said, moreover, Yahweh that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear.
Now see, here's how belief make you act. Belief make you act a little arrogant. Belief make you act some kind of way that might make some other people feel some kind of way. He already know before he move. Oh, I'm coming back. What Abraham said? I'm coming back.
Me and the boy.
Me and the boy. Yeah, I'm finna go sacrifice him, but we coming back. I already know before I go. Dawid said, I'm telling you what I'm about to do. On everything I love, y'all. He going down. Go ahead.
He will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine.
Yep.
And Saul said unto Dawid,
He will deliver me. Now, while everybody else sees arrogance in him, he know who doing it. At the same time, he said, what I'm going to do. I'm telling you how I'm going to do it. Because he. Yeah, but he. See, sometimes when you got a problem with somebody, all you heard was You didn't hear he. Now, I'm going, but he. Go deliver me. I'll be back. Coming back with his head. Make sure y'all got a big box. We're going to have something to carry this head in. Go ahead.
And Saul said unto David, Go, and Yahweh be with you.
Now, you see that big warrior man was okay letting the kid go. See, this is how folks do. They first tell you what you can't do, but they sure willing to take a part in your triumph. But they're not going to take a part in your trial. Why didn't he say, you know what? I'll go up there with you. You know what? Go ahead then. Do that, little pretty boy. As soon as he left out of here, probably saying, he gonna die. He's gonna die today. Go ahead.
And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him.
These weapons of war have not been proven in battle. I can't take it. This is why Yahweh said he can't do certain things with certain individuals. They haven't been proven in battle. And people say, no, this is a goodly individual. Yeah, but they ain't been proven. How you be proven? Going through something. Every time it's time to go through something, they gone. Go ahead.
And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook.
Now, these are things that he accustomed to working with. Oh, I know how these work. See, I know how they work. I have used these. I know how to use this. Go ahead.
And put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near to David. And the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistines looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance.
You know, you understand something? Cute is not a good attribute in war. Nobody looks upon your handsomeness in war. When it comes down to war, people even feel more comfortable when they go in the fight with some big, ugly people. They want them to be big and ugly. I mean, absolutely ugly. I mean, ugly, ugly. I mean, the dog run from them ugly. I mean, really, really ugly. This makes people feel confident. The prettier you are, the less confidence they have in you. So what you think Yahweh was doing? He's handsome. Pick him. Why? Because they're not going to believe him. And I'm going to judge their heart because they're not going to believe him. I want that one. Give me him. Bypass the big warrior-looking brothers right off the rip. Reject it. Go ahead.
And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that you come to me with staves?
You came to me with some rocks? I'm a soldier, man. I killed many men. Go ahead.
And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I'll give your flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, You come to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to you in the name of Yahweh of hosts, the El of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied.
Okay. I need for y'all to understand what's going on. When old boy cursed him, he cursed him by his gods. Then David is speaking for Yahweh. Okay, so for all practical purposes, he said, you know, my God gonna kick your God. Go ahead.
This day will Yahweh deliver you into my hand, and I'll smite you, and take your head from you, and I will give the carcasses And I'll give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a El in Israel.
This is a lot for a little boy, man. This just seemed quite arrogant, man. Not only is he talking, he prophesying, he talking about cutting off heads, leaving bodies, and then he didn't just say it was going to happen to him. He said, your folk finna die too today. I'm not just going to kill one giant, but your cousin giant going to die too. Go ahead.
And all this assembly shall know that Yahweh saves not with sword and spear, for the battle is Yahweh's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet Dawid, that Dawid hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And Dawid put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone.
No. He ran toward him. He didn't run away from him. Go ahead.
And Dawid put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead. And the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So Dawid prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of Dawid. Therefore Dawid ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled.
Right. Now, imagine now, a guy with some rocks telling you that he gonna slay you and cut off your head. With what? You have a rocks. Now imagine if you count an inventory before you move. How can you cut off a man's head when you don't have a sword? See, here's what happened when nosy and I need to know everything before I move. Here's how that turns into a lack of faith. You're not moving because you don't have a sword. No. The sword you're going to use is his. Now you got one as soon as you hit him. You got a sword. But what happened if you count an inventory before you move? You don't never move. Because you trying to have the sword beforehand. No, the sword over there. Go ahead.
And the men of Israel and of Yehudah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until you come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way to Sheraim, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents.
Right. So you have this little boy has given them power from something that even the king said, you ain't gonna be able to do that. His older brother said, you ain't gonna be able to do that. Why you come down here? I know your pride. Go ahead.
And Dawid took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. And when Saul saw Dawid go forth against the Philistines, he said to Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, as your soul lives, O king, I cannot tell.
Dude, we don't know them. We don't know them. They ain't got no name in Israel. Yahweh just gave him one. He just gave him one. Go ahead.
And the king said, inquire you whose son the stripling is.
This stripling. This ain't nothing but a bag of bones. Go ahead.
And as Dawid returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, whose son are you, you young man? And Dawid answered, I am the son of your servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite.
Right. So now he automatically got the eyes of the king and the older brother does not. And he walked up with his trophy. Had the head of Goliath in his hand. Saul was scared of Goliath. He got the head of the man that the king was afraid of in his hand. But you see what that breeds. Now, we see the foundation of envy with Eliab, David's older brother, who supposed that he should not have been chosen instead of Dawid.
He should have.
He should have been chosen instead of Dawid. The foundation of envy is birthed when a certain individual can achieve what others believe they should be unable to perform. Because of envy, Joseph was delivered into the hand of slave traders. For envy, Yahshua was delivered unto the tormentors. Proverbs 27 verse 4 says, wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous. But who is able to stand before envy? 1 Corinthians 11 verses 18 and 19 says, I hear that there be divisions among you, and I partly believe it. For there must be heresies among you, that they which are approved may be made manifest among you. Let's go to Acts chapter 17. So what Yahweh provided was a heresy. A heresy is a division, a separation. There is this little dilemma. At the end of the dilemma, Yahweh showed that Dawid is who I've chosen. Well, no question to the king. No, there's something about this little stripling. Find out whose son this is. But everything is known in the end. Hindsight is, of course, 2020. Acts chapter 17, and we're going to read verses 1 through 15.
Now when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was a synagogue of the Yehudis. And Saul, as his manner was, went in unto them, and 3 Sabbath days reasoned with them out of the scriptures.
Now, even amongst the Euro-Gentiles, as they are being converted, they're around still keeping the Sabbath. When they decide they want to hear the word, they're hearing it on the Sabbath. Okay. But people want to act like, you know, the Sabbath was nailed to the cross. Well, why they didn't know it? Surely Saul should have known it. If Yahshua sent them out to work, he should have been telling them. Go ahead.
Opening and alleging that the anointed one must needs have suffered and risen again from the dead, and that this Yahshua, whom I preach unto you, is the anointed one.
This is where we make some of our biggest mistakes. We believe that if something is of the spirit, that we're not going to suffer. You got to understand that there's certain things that the spirit has designated for you, and you are going to suffer every bit of it. But he got something for you in the end. There's strength that come out of that. Go ahead.
And some of them believed and consorted with Saul and Silas, and of the devout Greeks a great multitude, and of the chief women not a few. But the Yehudis which believed not, moved with envy, took unto them certain lewd fellows of the baser sort.
All right, so, but the Yehudim which believed not, moved with envy. Now, you see, there's unbelief that causes you to be paralyzed, because unbelief causes you not to move. Now there's the unbelief that brings forth envy. Go ahead.
And gathered a company, and set all the city on an uproar, and assaulted the house of Jason, and sought to bring them out to the people. And when they found them not, they drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, These that have turned the world upside down are come hither also, whom Jason has received, and these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, seeing that there is another king, one Yahshua. And they troubled the people and the rulers of the city when they heard these things. And when they had taken security of Jason and of the other, they let them go. And the brethren immediately sent away Saul and Silas by night unto Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Yehudis. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily whether those things were so. Therefore many of them believed, also of honorable women which were Greeks, and of men, not a few. But when the Yehudis of Thessalonica had knowledge that the word of Elohim was preached of Saul at Berea,
Berea.
they came thither also and stirred up the people.
Now listen now. So they followed them, but they didn't believe. But when the Yehudim of Thessalonica had knowledge that the word of Elohim was preached of Saul at Berea, they came there also. But they didn't come there to actually go about the works. They came to stir up the people. How you stir up the people? Sow seeds of discord among the people. Go ahead.
And then immediately the brethren sent away Saul to go as it were to the sea. But Silas and Timotheus abode there still. And they that conducted Saul brought him unto Athens, and receiving a commandment unto Silas and Timotheus for to come to him with all speed, they departed.
All right. So now let's go to John chapter 6. John chapter 6. They followed, but they didn't believe. See, we automatically believe that following means belief. It does not. I learned that the hard way when my elder was around. I used to hear him talking about these people, and I'm like, who are these people he talking about? What is he talking about? And you realize that some of the people who did not believe, they were the first one they see every Sabbath. They didn't believe, but they like hearing him talk. His words were as the words of a lovely song. They wasn't going to do none of them, but they liked to hear it. Took me years before I found out. Wait a minute. That's these people. Now, once you found out, he'd be like, yeah, suck that them. I've been asking you for years. Well, you should have found out. Well, now you know it is what it is. He wouldn't tell me. But why would somebody follow and not believe? John chapter 6. Let's start at verse 1.
After these things, Yahshua went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a great multitude followed him, because they saw his miracles, which he did on them that were diseased. And Yahshua went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, a feast of the Yehudis, was near. When Yahshua then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he says unto Philip, when shall we buy bread, that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do.
For this he said to prove him, for he knew what he was going to do. Go ahead.
Philip answered him, 200 penny worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simeon Peter's brother, says unto him, there is a lad here, which has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? And Yahshua said, make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, in number about 5,000. And Yahshua took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were sit down, and likewise of the fishes as much as they would. When they were filled, he said unto his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Therefore they gathered them together, and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above unto them that had eaten.
All right, so Yahweh then provides. Okay? That's the whole point that we got to get out of this. He provides a way when there is no way. He provides when everybody said this should not be able to be done. When everybody say you should not be able to do this. He provides, but only to those that believe. Yahshua said, do you believe that I am the Son of Elohim? What do y'all think I asked that one question before I baptized? Go ahead.
And those men, when they had seen the miracle that Yahshua did, said, this is of a truth that prophet that should come into the world. When Yahshua therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into a mountain himself alone. And when evening was now come, his disciples went down onto the sea, and entered into a ship, and went over the sea toward Capernaum. And it was now dark, and Yahshua was not come to them. And the sea arose by reason of a great wind that blew. So when they had rowed about 25 or 30 furlongs, they see Yahshua walking on the sea, and drawing near unto the ship. And they were afraid. But he says unto them, It is I, be not afraid. Then they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land whither they went. The day following, when the people which stood on the other side of the sea saw that there was none other boat there, save that one whereinto his disciples were entered, and that Yahshua went not with his disciples into the boat, but that his disciples were gone away alone, howbeit there came other boats from Tiberias near unto the place where they did eat bread, after that the Adonai had given thanks. When the people therefore saw that Yahshua was not there, neither his disciples, they also took shipping, and came to Capernaum seeking for Yahshua.
Right. So you have them following then. Go ahead.
And when they had found him on the other side of the sea, they said unto him, Rabbi, when cometh you hither? Yahshua answered them and said,
And they call him rabbi. They calling him like it seems respectful. But what does he have to say?
Verily, verily, I say unto you, you seek me not because you saw the miracle, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled.
All right. So then they had personal reasons to follow. They wasn't following because they believed. They was following because they were going to get to eat. Go ahead.
Labor not for the meat which perishes, but for that meat which endures unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him has Elohim the Father sealed. Then said they unto him, What shall we do, that we might work the works of Elohim?
Right. The greatest works. See, a lot of times everybody building up their work. Look at the best one. Go ahead.
Yahshua answered and said unto them, This is the work of Elohim, that you believe on him whom he has sent.
If you don't believe who he has sent, if you don't believe that the people are here that were sent to do a job, please get out the seat and let somebody else sit there. Go ahead.
They said therefore unto him, What sign show you then, that we may see and believe you? What does you work? Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it is written, He gave them bread from heaven even to eat. Then Yahshua said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moshe gave not that bread from heaven, but my Father gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of Elohim is he which comes down from heaven and gives life unto the world. Then said they unto him, Adonai, evermore give us this bread. And Yahshua said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that comes to me shall never hunger, and he that believes on me shall never thirst.
Now, you already have some that were offended just because they knew him already. And they suppose that he should not have been able to do some of the things that he's been able to do. You know how we go. If somebody do something and it happened in a way that we're not ready for,
They must have been scamming. They must have scammed. There's no way.
okay, go ahead.
But I said unto you, that you also have seen me and believe not. All that the Father gives me shall come to me. And him that comes to me, I will in no wise cast out. For I came down from heaven, not to do mine own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the Father's will which has sent me, that of all which he has given me I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. And this is the will of him that sent me, that every one which sees the Son and believes on him may have everlasting life, and I'll raise him up at the last day.
Right, and he said they're going to go to heaven. Go ahead.
The Yehudis then murmured at him, because he said, I am the bread which came down from heaven.
Now, he's presenting some things that people might be offended. How many things? See, you got to be careful being in the Word with your feelings on your sleeve. How many things that might be said to you that might be offensive? What if Yahweh trying you? What if he's see, you think that Yahweh dealing with the person who talking. Maybe he dealing with you. No. Let's see what it takes to offend you. Yeah, let's see what we're working with. See, when something is made, they said this thing is approved. What does it have? It has undergone a stress test. What is a stress test? I want to see what it take to break it. That's how it got its rating. That means they built one just to break it. They built one just to set it on fire, to see how much heat it takes to melt it. They built one just to freeze it, to see how cold does it have to get for it to crack. Then it received a stress test rating. Your rating on you somewhere. Go ahead.
And they said, is not this Yahshua the son of Yosef, whose father and mother we know?
All right. Where does the offense come? Well, we know him, man. Familiarity breeds contempt. Go ahead.
How is it then that he says, I came down from heaven? Yahshua therefore answered and said unto them, murmur not among yourselves. No man can come to me except the Father which has sent me draw him.
Right. So, except they are called, you can say whatever you want to say to them. They always going to have indignation because he hadn't revealed it unto them. Go ahead.
And I'll raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets, and they shall be all taught of Elohim. Every man, therefore, that has heard and has learned of the Father comes unto me. Not that any man has seen the Father, save he which is of Elohim, he has seen the Father. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believes on me has everlasting life. I am that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which comes down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. The Yehudis therefore strove among themselves, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat?
Once again, he's saying something that might be offensive. He said, blessed are them who are not offended in me. Then he goes purposely and offends them. Be careful where you put your feelings. Go ahead.
And Yahshua said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, except you eat the flesh of the Son of Man, and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whoso eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I'll raise him up at the last day.
He continually talks about this last day. So I have to ask, what happened when you read this on Sunday morning? Is this one of the verses that they have to skip? Because he continually keeps talking about this last day. Somebody who keeps preaching heaven has to encounter some questions when you read over and over in the same chapter, I'm going to raise him up at the last day. Go ahead.
For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eats my flesh and drinks my blood dwells in me, and I in him. As the living Father has sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eats me, even he shall live by me. This is that bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna and are dead. He that eats of this bread shall live forever. These things said he in the synagogue as he taught in Capernaum. Many therefore of his disciples, when they had heard this, said, this is an hard saying. Who can hear it?
It's a hard saying. Who can hear it? Go ahead.
When Yahshua knew in himself that his disciples murmured at it, he said unto them, does this offend you?
Of course he knew it was offensive. Does this offend you? He gonna ask the question like he don't know what. Are you offended? What? I'm sorry, does this offend you? Why? Because he want to easily offend it. Out. Go now. Does this offend you? Because if this offends you, as we get further down this road and start doing some real work, you're gonna drop off anyway. So why not go ahead and drop off now? Go ahead.
What? And if you shall see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before? It is the spirit that quickens. The flesh profits nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life.
The words that I speak unto you are spirit. If you can't hear them, it's because we don't have the same spirit. Go ahead.
But there are some of you that believe not.
Uh-huh.
For Yahshua knew from the beginning who they were that believed not, and who should betray him.
He knew from the beginning who they were that believed not. Go ahead.
And he said, therefore cite I unto you, that no man can come unto me, except it were given unto him of my Father. From that time many of his disciples went back, and walked no more with him.
They couldn't deal with it. They said, we have been offended for the last time. We cannot walk with him. Now he got exactly what he wants. Now he got exactly what he needs. See? Go ahead.
Then said Yahshua unto the 12, will you also go away?
Uh-huh.
Then Simeon Peter answered him, Adonai, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life.
That don't mean they understood everything that was being said. See, the difference between belief, see, belief makes you walk even when you don't understand. See, belief is where faith lives. They didn't understand everything that was being said. He didn't explain all that. But they ain't leave. Go ahead.
And we believe and are sure that you are that Messiah, the Son of the living El. Yahshua answered them, have not I chosen you 12, and one of you is a devil?
Now he done went on a whole nother level. So he done ran all the other people off. Then he gets down to the 12. Now have not I chosen you 12, and one of you is a devil? Man, come on, man. You just ran off by 7 of us. Then you gonna hit us with the devil thing? But this is how unbelief works. You know, a brother hit me with, hey man, you kind of, messed us up with this building fund thing. I said, what you talking about? He said, you always talked about how the churches had building fund, but nobody ever got a building. How they had building funds, but they got some other kind of money to build
Grants.
them grants to build a building. I guess they thought that applied to us. No, we got a building fund and we got a building. But you know what unbelief makes you do? There are some that wouldn't touch that building fund. They said, wait a minute, he got a building fund, then he put it in another name. That brother hustling. Then when the building show up, now everybody looking crazy. What y'all look, I know I'm poor.
Come on.
But my daddy rich. See, this is y'all problem. See, my daddy loaded. Okay? You keep looking at me, trying to figure out what capability I have. This is where you're making your mistake. My father is loaded. Now I'm broke. But the trust fund. When my daddy give me stuff that I never can. I get the most stuff when I have the least money. Because my daddy want to make sure I know. You know that with me, right? I know, daddy. I know. I know that. I know I can't afford that, daddy. I know. I know. I know, daddy. I know. When you believe, you go right out. Boom. But because people didn't see all the stuff that was happening before that, because I didn't open my mouth before that. But to some people, I just mentioned on the holy day that we were going to get a building, and the next holy day we got one. You didn't know about the months that were happening before that. But then again, that ain't none of your damn business. Matthew chapter 17. Go ahead, bro.
You know, my brother, you threw this on the table, and, I got to say, man, I've known you for a while, and you talk about certain things over the years in your class. And if people don't get it by now, they're not going to understand you. And even with the building fund, I know that if you had the reserves to do it yourself, you would have never asked anybody for the funds. I know that of you. And that's why I don't understand what people don't understand, is that if this man had the funds available, we'd have just heard that we moving. He would have not have asked any of us for anything. And then we got a brother who's halfway across the country who gladly put in, and he ain't here every week as we are. No questions asked. So maybe we need to ask ourselves some damn questions. Where's our heart and our belief at?
Man, there's many brothers and sisters who put in who y'all ain't never seen, who done helped build a house that they may not even come to. It ain't just one. Several.
Hey,
What happened? That's what belief make you do. They believed and put in for something that they said, I may never even step foot in it. But I'm going to help make it nice for Yahweh's people. That's what belief make you do.
what they say the age of accountability is 20?
Uh-huh.
We got an 18-year-old that they gave to the building fund. He ain't of the age of accountability.
Right.
But guess what he say? I'm working and Yahweh providing for me.
Right. But I tell you, belief makes you move. Unbelief paralyzes you. Because you still need to know this, you need to know that. I need to know where the money going. I need to know this. I need to know that. I need to know this. I need to know this and that. I tell you, my Father is loaded. If my Father sees delight in me, when I ask for something, he will give it me. Not if I intend on using it for the service of my flesh. But if I intend to use that for the betterment of his word and his people, you can go ahead and put a stamp on it. We getting that. Let's go to Matthew chapter 7. And I want you to read 3 verses. Matthew chapter 17, verses 24 through 27. Let me show you how my daddy do.
Matthew 17 and verse 24.
Because you know, you have among Israel those who like to count pockets. Because they want to figure out how you able to do these things. Go ahead.
And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Cephas and said, Does not your master pay tribute?
Uh-huh.
He says, Yes. And when he was come into the house, Yahshua prevented him, saying, What think you, Simeon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children or of strangers? Cephas says unto him, Of strangers.
Uh-huh.
Yahshua says unto him, Then are the children free.
Then are the children free? We shouldn't have to pay this tax. But go ahead.
Notwithstanding, least we should offend them. Go you to the sea, and cast and hook, and take up the fish that first comes up. And when you have opened his mouth, you shall find a piece of money. That take and give unto them for me and you.
Right. So when you count my pockets, make sure you count them damn fish. Make sure you count the fish that my daddy gonna send. You count that? Count that too. Man, I might be poor, but my daddy loaded. The earth and the fullness therein belongs to him. But if you don't believe, you ain't gonna achieve. Let's go to Mark chapter 11. See, you got to know your daddy loaded. Even the rich folk will tell you, oh, no. We don't have anything in our names. We put it in trust. I don't really own it. I just control it. Live your life that way. Oh, no. This ain't my stuff. This Yahweh stuff. But he let me use it. I have access to a car. I have access to a house. Is it yours? No, not really, but he let me use it. And as long as I do right by him, he gonna let me keep using it. Our problem is we're looking for the day that we're not gonna do right. So that's why we need it to be all ours. I don't need it to be all mine because I don't plan on not doing right by him. I plan on continually doing right by him, so he's gonna let me keep having access to his stuff. Mark chapter 11, let's start at verse 1.
And when they came near to Jerusalem, unto Bethphage and Bethany at the Mount of Olives, he sent forth 2 of his disciples, and says unto them, Go your way into the village over against you, and as soon as you be entered into it, you shall find a colt tied, whereon never man sat. Loose him and bring him.
Now wait a minute. Now see, there's this thing I heard somebody say one time, and I had the same thought, but I also know the things that happened. Where brother said, you think I'll follow a brother if he starts saying something that ain't right? I wouldn't follow that brother if he don't say nothing, that he starts saying stuff that ain't right. Here's the problem. Yahweh will turn around and make a brother say something wrong just to see what you're going to do. Now, he then tells them, go get a coat. What'd he say? I need you to go steal a Charger.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, go get me one of them Dodge Chargers. Yeah, I need this horse. They got a lot of horses, huh? I need you to go get it for me. Now, hold on now. This is where it gets interesting now. Now go get it. I need you to go get, I told y'all my daddy rich. The earth and the fullness therein belongs to him. Everything that's in it. Folks said this mine. No, it ain't. My daddy own this place. You understand? So it's really my daddy's. And if my daddy say I can have it, it's mine. Keep reading.
And if any man say unto you, why do you this? Say you that the Adonai has need of him.
Okay.
And straightway he will send him hither.
All right. Now, do you have that kind of, now, you got to have some belief now to go forward with this. To just go and grab a horse and start walking off with it. Wait a minute, man. Did Yahshua just tell them to go run a jack move? Go ahead.
And they went their way. And found the colt tied by the door without in a place where two ways met. And they loosed him. And certain of them that stood there said unto them, what do you, loosing the colt?
Hey, man, y'all still in there? Hey, bro, what y'all doing? Now, wait a minute. What if somebody said, you know what, Yahshua done told us to do something wrong? Now, how does this get interesting? Okay, right before my elder died, there was people said, you know, elder got the spirit. Okay, my elder had cancer that spread to his brain. My elder started saying some things that were not quite right. People said, he got the spirit. I said, bro, that's not the spirit, that's cancer. That's cancer talking. Now, what happens when you get to the point where you can't tell the difference? There's a whole lot of people who attacked me. As much as I loved my elder, I said, that ain't right. That was a very, very hard place for me to stand. All my brothers turned against me. But they ended up following some dude, sold all their houses and moved to some place only for him to go and tell them that he was the electric blanket, the comforter. Then they all came back down here. And none of them will speak to me. They won't look at me. If I'm in the market, they turn and go the other way. Why? They're offended in me. What did I do? I only told you the truth. I just happened to tell you the truth 4 or 5 years before it happened to you. Had you listened, you could have kept your stuff. Oh, well. Go ahead.
And they said unto them, even as Yahshua had commanded, and they let them go.
Right.
And they brought the colt to Yahshua, and cast their garments on him, and he sat upon him. And many spread their garments in the way, and others cut down branches of the trees, and strawed them in the way.
Right. And I kept telling y'all that when I was seeing all these interviews that they were presenting a brother to be the Messiah. Remember, they said there should not be a black Messiah unless we create one. This is why you're going to find that video on the internet of that brother riding around in a horse. This is what he's supposed to be. Pay attention. Go ahead.
And they that went before and they that followed cried, saying,
This is why you're going to see people crying in the video. Go ahead.
Hosanna, blessed is he that comes in the name of the Adonai. Blessed be the kingdom of our father Dawid that comes in the name of the Adonai. Hosanna in the highest. And Yahshua entered into Jerusalem and into the temple. And when he had looked round about upon all things, and now the eventide was come, he went out unto Bethany with the 12.
All right. Now, let's go to Genesis chapter 14. See, you have too many people who automatically knew that our Elohim was rich. Genesis 14, and I want to read verses 17 through 24.
And the kingdom of Sodom.
See, Abram knew that Yahweh was rich. Even before, he didn't know his name was Yahweh, but he knew he was rich. Go ahead.
And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Sheva, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine. and he was the priest of the Most High Elohim. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High El, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High El, which has delivered your enemies into your hands. And he gave him tithes of all.
Now, why did he do that? Why he give him tithes? Ain't no law for him to give no tithe. Because he believed. His belief is already there. He don't need his belief to be framed by a law. His belief is framed in his heart. Go ahead.
And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to yourself.
All right, so it's negotiation time after the winning of the battle. After all battles, there is a division of the goods. Go ahead.
And Abram said to the king of Sodom,
Uh-huh.
I have lifted up mine hand unto Yahweh, the Most High Elohim, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet.
A thread even to a shoe latchet. Go ahead.
And that I will not take anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich.
Now there go a man who know people. See, Yahweh can do all these things for you. Somebody put in a quarter.
You know, I bought that. Look at that nice shirt. You see that shirt he got on? I bought that.
Listen, he know people. No. Because see, as much as my Elohim is giving me, you gonna think you did this. You gonna think you did this. You don't know my God. He said, no. I'm not even gonna take a shoe latchet from you. Because you think you done made me rich. No, you didn't make me rich. My God made him rich. What does it say? No, I gave you all of these things. Yahweh gave him that. But he know men. Go ahead.
Save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Eshkol, and Mamre. Let them take their portion.
Yeah, I want them to get paid, but don't you give me a dime, because I know what you're going to think if you do. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 18, and let us hear the conclusion of this matter. So, you know, one of those things they say, you know, do you take new wine and put it in the old bottles? We have to consider. We're going into a new place. We need to go ahead and cleanse some of that old mindset. Or we might find ourselves stuck in the same old building once everybody gone. Proverbs 18, and let's start that at verse 1.
Through desire a man, having separated himself, seeks and intermeddleth with all wisdom. A fool has no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself.
It says the heart is wicked among all things. Who can know it? But a fool is trying to discover his heart. Why? Because he think everything in his heart is pure. He think every thought that he think is good. Go ahead.
When the wicked comes, then comes also contempt, and with ignominy reproach. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook.
Right. It says deep waters. Why? Because the things that proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart. See, you can tell what's in somebody's heart by what come out of their mouth. So, what caused you to say that right there? So sometimes Yahweh allows some things to be said. Remember the person who was standing across the water to curse King David? And they said, but one of his men said, let me go over there and take his head off. He said, no, don't bother him. Yahweh probably told him to say it. And the same one who told him to say it, he's going to deal with him for saying it. That means he wanted me to be humbled by the words that were spoken against me. Go ahead.
It is not good to accept the person of the wicked, to overthrow the righteous in judgment. A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calls for strokes. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. The words of a talebearer are his wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. He also that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster.
Right, but we have to look now. When we deal with slothful in work, are you accounting that the right way? See, everybody, when you deal with this priesthood, I keep telling people, there's certain people who have rights to do this, but they can't do that. There's certain people that have rights to do this, but they can't do that over there. What happened if you come and you see a brother not doing something? Bro, that ain't his job. His job over there. Do you then say, man, why ain't that brother doing such and such? That's not his job. See, we got to pay attention to some things. At least you look at something and you account it the wrong way. And then a lot of times we're ready to deal with, service differently. Hey man, the word gives us strict instruction. Those priests enter in 30, they work 20 years, 50 years old, they retire. Now they can operate in advisement. Our problem is, we come in at 48, work 2 years, and say, I'm 50. Man, if you don't get your ass over there and pick up that hammer, if you don't get your ass over there and pick up that hammer, you got 2 years in. When I started this, I was 30. I got 20, baby. Don't get it twisted. Go ahead, bro.
The rich man's wealth is his strong city, and as a high wall in his own conceit. Before destruction, the heart of a man is haughty, and before honor is humility. He that answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame unto him. The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded spirit who can bear? The heart of the prudent gets knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. A man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men.
A man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. A man's gift will also get him attacked. A man's gift, people will find out that they ain't got that gift and they come at you. Dawid was accused of exalting himself. He was accused of being something. Why? Because he had a gift they didn't have. Yourself was accused. Look, this dreamer cometh. Why? Because he had a gift that they didn't have. But in persecuting him for the gift, they the one that put the gift in motion. You see how it worked? He used their envy and jealousy about the gift to uplift the gift. Go ahead.
He that is first in his own cause seems just. But his neighbor comes and searches him.
Right. He that is first in his own cause seems just. Why? Because he the only one talking. Wait till the other man talk. Go ahead.
The lot causeth contentions to cease, and parteth between the mighty. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle.
Right. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city. Now the question is, how was the brother offended? Was the brother offended by something that was in his heart? What caused the offense? Because if that brother is offended by something in his heart, how you gonna get it out? Don't worry about it, man. We'll be all right. The Spirit talketh. Go ahead.
A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Whoso finds a wife finds a good thing, and obtains favor of Yahweh.
Right. Whoso finds a wife that is good finds a good thing. But if he has brought unto his bosom something that troubles him, that ain't no good thing. Go ahead.
The poor uses entreaties, but the rich answers roughly. A man that has friends must show himself friendly.
A man that has friends must show himself friendly. When you in a situation that you have power over, consider all the time that people have had mercy upon you. Consider all the time that you have inconvenienced people. At least we slang that sword real quick and forget, man, you know how much you inconvenience these people? And they were all patient with you. You know how long it took you to learn how to do such and such? And they were all patient with you. It's like the parable of the one who was forgiving this debt. Then went out to his brother, saw one that owed him less, and choked him out. What happened? You forgot about the mercy that was given unto you? There's certain things that have happened that we know have happened that other people have no idea about. And how was that? Because somebody had mercy unto you and didn't throw your business out there in the street. Do we forget all that? Do we forget all that? It's amazing how quick we forget. Go ahead, brother.
And there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother.
All right, that's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.